All right, everyone. Well, thank you very, very much for coming today. We're delighted to have this very special day with all of you. Um, Help yourself, please, as we go along to cake, to coffee and drinks. And thank you very, very much. Um, I'm Lynn Wheeler, and I am the board chair of the Historical Society. I'm sorry that Jason, who of course is normally here, can't be here today because they're at a history conference, which is very important to us, but we're so sorry that it happened to conflict with this day. However, there are a number of board members here, and I would like the board members of the Historical Society to stand, please. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you very, very much. We have a wonderful board, and we hope you'd like to join us sometime. I also want to thank the Community Media Center for doing the video of these presentations, which then appear on our YouTube channel. And a lot of people like to make use of those excellent productions, so thank you. We're very thankful to be able to meet in this beautiful church and to get the kind of service we get for these programs. And so it's my great pleasure to welcome Pastor Matt Pensker to the mic.
Thank you all so much. I just wanted to welcome you to Grace Lutheran Church. We are so happy to host these gatherings, and we're glad to have you here today. I hope that you enjoy your lunch and enjoy your time here. And if there's anything that we can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. This has been a long and really warm relationship, and we're really glad to have the Historical Society here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Never a dull moment around here, for sure. I want to also thank Kevin Jones, who is with us today from ACTS. Kevin is our sponsor for today's program. Thank you so much, Kevin. Now, many of you may know ACTS as Fairhaven, and so Kevin has a lot of information about ACTS and the exciting program they have, so please stop over and see him before you go today. And thank you very much, Kevin, for being here. I'm also thankful to the team that helps to put this together. We have Cass, Sherry, Wendy, and Doris. Thank you very much for all your help today. And now it's my great pleasure to, before I do, I just want to make two announcements. Next Saturday, the 24th, we're having the wine tasting with Bernie Vogel, Wines of Sardinia. If you would like to sign up, you can still do so on our website. Also, we're excited about Saturday morning. 9 o'clock is Carroll County History Day at Westminster High School. And all of the students do wonderful displays and exhibits. Plus, all of the partners in telling the story of our history are there with exhibits. So it's 9 to 1 at Westminster High School. It offers opportunities for lectures and for exhibits and awards. So hope you can drop by and see us. Also on February 27th, we're doing a program in partnership with the Gatehouse Museum, where we will bring an expert on, quote, preparing your legacy collection of print photos, the first steps. If you're like me, you have boxes of photos, you're like, what am I gonna do with these? So hopefully she'll be able to help us. That is February 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. And next month, we're very excited that we're doing a double box lunch talk. As you may recall, those of you who come regularly, we had to cancel January because of snow. And so we're going to have both Steve Bowersox and Galen Roop talking about the history first of veterans, the Veterans of World War II project, but then also the history of the high school when it was in East Middle. So that should be a lot of fun. Galen is bringing all of his yearbooks in. And of course, never a dull moment with Steve and Galen. So thank you. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our speakers. I'm not going to go into a lot of the tremendous achievements of John Yingling, because he's going to talk about the history of the Crawford Yingling Insurance Company, over 100 years in business here, which is quite an amazing feat, really, when you think of all of the things that could have interfered with your business over the last 100 years. But I will say this. When I first started in Carroll County as the library director, I went to the downtown business meeting. I didn't know anyone. I was just sitting there, nude, and who welcomed me with open arms and was so very, very welcoming. And I think everyone in this community has had that experience with John Yingling. So John, thank you for being such an amazing community partner and welcoming all of us to do our best. We really appreciate it. Now, Sharon and John have been married 51 years, and during that time, both of them have had an immense commitment to the community in many, many, many ways, as have, well, the entire Yingling family. But Sharon and John have been excellent partners. I worked a lot with Sharon in the library, and she really did a superb job with Exploration Commons, making that happen. And that sense of giving back to the community that was also instilled in their son, Ben, who now is working with Crawford Yingling, and you'll hear more from him. But Ben has already served one term on the city council, and who knows what else he has in store for us. So thank you for your community commitment, and we're looking forward to hearing the interesting story of Yingling Crawford, starting over 300 years ago in Carroll County. John?
First of all, thank you all for taking out of your time to come here, your busy schedules. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, good. I want to thank, first of all, Jason Alardi, Lynn Wheeler, and Laura Bankard for inviting me up here to speak this afternoon. It's a real pleasure. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me to tell you about our family business that's been in business for 105 years, now has the fourth generation of my family. I can say that I'm not 100 years old, but I'm on the way to that. So I don't know I haven't been there for the whole history of the firm. We're continuing to grow and are now licensed in Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, the District of Columbia, West Virginia, and North and South Carolina. My family has built a successful business based on hard work, honesty, and service. Our business today, 105 years old, rests on these three pillars. Crawford Yingling Insurance is the product of two Carroll County families, the Crawfords and the Yinglings. In the 1730s, Christian Yingling lived in Union Mills, and Fred Yingling lived on a farm off Stone Road in Pleasant Valley. He ran the grist mill in the valley and was one of the founders of the Pleasant Valley Church. In 1912, Joe Yingling bought the 200-acre farm, which we still reside on. In 1918, Joe Yingling sold the farm to Tobias Yingling, who was my grandfather. In 1933, David Yingling, my uncle, inherited the farm. Now, as you'll see, we have members of our family at the farm. There's David, Charlotte, my dad, my mother, Louise, and my Uncle Dennis. That's on our farm in Pleasant Valley. I'm 76, and so the upper right-hand corner I'm pretty proud of. That was our 100th year anniversary, and we were in a national magazine, featured in a national magazine. It's called Rough Notes in our industry, and we're very proud of that. That picture is, of course, myself and Ben. A funny story about the farm, one I didn't know until I was about to go off to college. My father and Uncle Dave wanted to be sure the farm stayed in the family. They decided among themselves that I should be the one to become the farmer and keeper of the homestead. The Yingling men are a stubborn lot. Once their minds are made up, they don't change them. I can only guess that as a young child I showed absolutely no aptitude for farming because they abandoned that idea, and I'm grateful for that. I hate gardening. Just ask my wife, Sharon. In 1995, upon my Uncle Dave's death, his 4 children inherited the farm. It is now owned and farmed by my cousin Davy. Now let's get on to the Crawford side of the family. That is a particularly good picture. That picture is of my grandfather, Mr. Crawford, and I'll go into it later. We were located on East Main Street when he started the business. Notice all the, you can probably can't see it, but there's a single light bulb from the ceiling. There are a lot of metal furniture and a lot of displays of companies he represented. My grandfather, Carroll Crawford, was born and grew up in Sandy Mount in 1899. He served in the Navy during World War I and returned to Carroll County upon discharge. He married my grandmother, Mary Devilbiss, who was from New Windsor, and they had 2 daughters, Mary Lee and Dorothy. Mary Lee Crawford married Warren B. Yingling when he was serving in the Army during World War II. In 1919, Mr. Crawford founded Westminster Realty and Insurance Company. That was the first name. Carroll County was very rural at that time, so the business concentrated on selling and appraising real estate, mostly farms. He located his office on the 2nd floor of 63 East Main Street, which is where this picture was taken, and across the street from the old fire department. As kids, my brothers and I would spend time at his office, drawing and doodling at his huge roll-top desk. We were also conscripted to shovel snow at his house for very little pay. We didn't like that as much as playing at the big desk. He was instrumental in purchasing the land for Liberty Reservoir and handled the sale of land in South Carroll, which became the Rooney Horse Farm. The Rooneys became owners of Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe that they may still own land in the county. As the county grew and became more mercantile, my grandfather started selling insurance policies. He started out by going down to the train station, which used to be on the corner of Main and Liberty Streets. In his career, he was president of the Maryland Real Estate and Insurance Association. He was president of the Maryland Society of Appraisers. He was a member and chair of Board of Trustees of Westminster United Methodist Church. He was on the board of directors of Carroll County Bank and Trust, and also was chairman of the board until his death. Westminster Rotary Club, he was a member. He was involved in the Raymond I. Richardson Foundation, the Walter H. Davis Foundation, and the Carroll County Public Library. My grandfather hired a young woman right out of secretarial school, Ruth Crust, and she is here today. Right in the back, Ruth. She was a very valued employee with our business until her retirement in 1996. Is that right? Okay. Ruth answered the phone, took care of all correspondence, and soothed many RA clients who thought their premiums were too high or claims were denied. She had the same integrity as the family, and all of our clients trusted and loved Ruth. We wouldn't be here today without you, Ruth, I tell you. She was a rock in that agency. And being the grandson of the founder, I was a little intimidated sometimes, but thank you for being here, Ruth. Now, on to Loring Yingling, my father, known as Chips. He was born and grew up on the farm in Pleasant Valley. This picture is mom and dad. On the right is a resolution from the House of Delegates in Maryland. I believe it was our 100th anniversary. My father was an airplane mechanic in England during World War II. When the war was over, he came home to work at International Harvester in Baltimore. In the early 50s, my grandfather began to have some serious health problems, and it was decided that my father would join and expand the firm. Like his father-in-law, my dad was honest and committed to his community as well as his clients. He was president of the Maryland Association of Realtors, president of the Carroll County Board of Realtors and Insurance Agents, the board of Carroll County General Hospital, longtime member of the Westminster Lions Club. In 2009, he received the Community Foundation Philanthropist of the Year award. By 1960, real estate sales were slowing down for small real estate agents due to competition from larger firms focusing only on real estate. However, more families began to purchase homes in rural Carroll County where taxes were lower and they could leave the problems of the big city behind. It was also the beginning of the two-car family. More houses, more cars. Insurance was the name of the game, and our agency purchased yet another local agency, the Heisen Agency in Manchester, Maryland. Once again, this purchase expanded the services which could be offered to the customer and allowed the firm to negotiate for far better prices on their policies. And this is a map of part of Westminster. Of course, in that red circle is where our building is located today. So that was approximately 1883. In 1960, my family purchased the building at 58 West Main Street. And this is a historical site. The house sits on two lots that were laid out in a subdivision by the Catholic Church in the Civil War era. In 1863, both lots were rented for $24 a year. The two lots were eventually bought by the Herr brothers, H-E-R-R. One lot was purchased for $3,000 in 1875, and the other for $2,600 in 1883. The Herr brothers owned a business on that site that manufactured and repaired coaches, carriages, buggies, and Westminster wet wagons. Now, I don't know what that is, what wet wagons are. The factory was listed as being at 56 West Main Street across from the Montour House. The entire block of West Main was destroyed in a fire in 1883. The Herr family owned the property until my family bought it. The rebuilt house is described as a mid-Victorian adaptation of the standard Westminster 5-bay, 2-section house. The late Ober and Jean Herr lived in the property when it was purchased. We've expanded the office twice. The latest addition was 2013. We added a very large ADA accessible addition to the back of the building, which includes a state-of-the-art conference room, an office, and a new bathroom. In 2019, we had the open house to celebrate our 100th birthday. In 1970, Westminster Realty and Insurance Company merged with Cash's Real Estate and Insurance Agency. Carroll Crawford and Truman Buck Cash were longtime friends and owned two of the largest and oldest firms in Westminster. The new company was Crawford Cash Incorporated. The new company would be run by Crawford Yingling and John Barnes, who worked for the Cash firm. Real estate transactions continued to decline as more large real estate firms from Baltimore and Washington moved to the county. When John Barnes suddenly passed away in 1983, the firm was renamed Crawford Corporation. I joined the firm in 1976 after graduating in 1971 from Towson University, Towson State College, and working for several years in the financial sector. I majored in business and economics and played on the first football team in Towson. I've taken courses from the American Banking Institute. I'm an accredited advisor in insurance by the Insurance Institute of America. Excuse me. Following in the footsteps of my father and grandfather, I've served on the Carroll County Association of Independent Insurance Agents. I was president in 1985 to 87. I was on the board of the Maryland Independent Insurance Agent. I was on the board of Carroll County Hospital. I was on the board of the Carroll County College. I was on the Carroll County Community College Foundation Board, the Carroll Home Care Board, a member of Westminster Kiwanis, Boys and Girls Club Fundraising Committee, and along with my brother Carroll Splinter, we were the Rotary Club Citizens of the Year in 2019. We can all acknowledge that the change in our lives over the last 20 years has been fast and furious. When I started in the business, we had one telephone line. We used carbon paper to make copies. There were no answering machines. If your client wasn't home, you couldn't leave a message. All correspondence went through the U.S. mail, which has always been slow and problematic. How many times did clients' bills and/or checks get lost in the mail? These circumstances weren't unique to insurance. Everyone was and continues to deal with change. Although it was gradual, the switch from doing most of our business in real estate, particularly appraisals, challenged us to create new revenue streams and adopting new sales techniques. Going into the family business has a unique set of challenges. Being in a family business where there were only 3 employees, 2 of whom I've worked for years and years, has another set of challenges. If it wasn't broke, they weren't going to fix it. I learned pretty quickly that if discussions were taking place, I was going to be on the losing side 2-1. I was kind of reluctant to go to my father when I needed advice or had a question about moving the business forward. This is when it came, especially true when it came to technology. Neither Dad nor Ruth could see this as the future, and they fought me tooth and nail. The Yinglings are a frugal lot, and technology was expensive. I adopted the strategy of asking for forgiveness rather than permission, figuring my mother wouldn't let Dad fire me. I bought our first computer, which neither of the 2 ever touched. The consolidation in the banking industry posed another challenge. Carroll County had several small banks that insured using local agencies. They were huge accounts for small agencies. Sometimes their premiums added up to over 30% of the business income. As they were bought by the larger banks, those banks moved those accounts to larger agencies to offer economies of scale. When that happened to us, I had to really hustle to find new clients to make up for the lost premiums. Instead of one big account to service, there were dozens to find and keep, which brings to mind another challenge. Customers used to be very loyal to their agents. Now, for many people, loyalty has no place in business, any business. Over the years, we've had to transition from a paper office you can see, and you can see one of the old ledgers. It should be down here. We used one of the old ledgers over there to full automation over the internet. Now, that was a challenge, especially for someone of my generation. The only way we were going to survive was to get young blood in the office. And that brings me to the 4th generation of the family. My son, Ben, who joined the company in 2011 and is now the president of Crawford Yingling Insurance and Risk Management. Ben graduated from McDaniel and has followed in his family's footsteps by serving the community. He's worked with McDaniel's office's experience and opportunity to hire 3 interns who work for the company, helping us in the office and giving them hands-on work experience and a small salary. Additionally, Ben has served on the Westminster City Council, chairman of the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce, board member of the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. He was president of the alumni board of Loyola Blakefield and Towson, and he supports the Boys and Girls Clubs of Westminster. Now Ben can tell you all about the future. Ben Yingling.
Well, thank you all for being here. So, the title of my presentation is Teaching the Old Dog New Tricks. That's the old dog. Where is he? Right there. And I think it's important to start, when I came into the business in, I think it was 2012, and, it's not hard. It's hard to teach that old dog new tricks, but one of the things I want to demonstrate here is throughout the last decade is we really wouldn't be in the position that we're in now without him supporting what we were going to do. He kind of alluded to, and I knew, his dad was very hesitant to change. I'm very blessed that my father has embraced that change. He may not like it, but he has embraced it. So I want to demonstrate that. So I'm going to take you through a little about me. You all kind of know me, but just real quick, that's me. I'm a big foodie, so there was this mannequin at this Michelin-star restaurant. I had a couple glasses of wine, and I decided to kiss it. So that's, personal me, joking around me. That's Jinx, the insurance dog, our mascot. My lovely wife, Amy, who's there, who's been very supportive of my journey. There's professional me. So let's talk post-college, McDaniel College. Working at Paradiso, had a lot of fun in college, and then said, okay, it's time for me to get a job. So through working at Paradiso, I kind of met somebody in the financial services industry, went down to a place called Capital Financial Partners, and started doing investments in life insurance. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about prospecting. It helped me start developing my professional relationships throughout the state. And I started to get involved in the community. This is 2009, 2008. And, got involved with McDaniel and just really started building some of my professional relationships. And this was a wonderful experience because I didn't go right into the family business. I stepped outside of it for a little while and saw a lot of things, the good, the bad, the ugly, but also learned a ton. So the first year, when I came to the business, which was not done lightly, I had to make a choice. Do I want to stay in Hunt Valley and work, for this large firm? I didn't think I wanted to do that, so I said, what do I do now? So I actually went back to Paradiso, worked there for 4 months, came to Dad and said, look, I love the business. It's a people business. I think the skill set we've developed, I've developed in Hunt Valley, I think I can bring something really great to an already established company. So the first year was really doing absolutely everything, answering the phones, just interacting with customers, taking payments. At that time, this is important because the business has evolved since this time we were very much still a retail business, people coming in retail. And as Dad alluded to, back in kind of his day and his father's day, people didn't have answering machines. You were a retail business in the professional services, CPAs. People were visiting your offices. That's how business was done. So we were still doing that, very much so. Brand. My lovely wife, Amy, asked me, what is your brand? She's a business consultant. And I remember this conversation, and I said, I shrugged this off. I said, we're a small business. We don't need to worry about our brand. And I'll come back to that later in the conversation because it's actually one of the most important things that we did over the last decade is to establish what our brand was. Did a lot of prospecting, what I learned to do. Started reaching out to people, developing, telling them what I do. I was very much though working in the business at this point and not really on the business, which we know the difference is, taking your day-to-day operations, but not working on the strategy of it. Kind of assessing our competition, who is out there locally, who is out there at the Baltimore level. I came from working in Baltimore, so I was aware of what our competition was and what they were doing. And I still am aware of that, and I paid very close attention to that. Started getting really involved in the community here, Carroll County Chamber of Commerce being one of them, which has been served me incredibly well. And then finding mentors was a huge thing for me. Steve Aquino, who a lot of you probably knew, was a huge mentor for me to introduce me to the community and the chamber. A guy by the name of Dan Werfmeister, who's president of Consolidated Insurance in Smills, probably, I owe a lot to him. And then that's Ken Gill, who some of you may know, but he's a big advocate of the McDaniel College. And that's actually, I met him in 2012, before they tore down the stadium. So he's been a great mentor. So finding the mentors in that first year. Then came the mass exodus. At the time, we had 2 very long-time employees, one for 15 years, I think one for 9. I'll never forget this day. This is my dad's birthday party at one of his friend's house, 4th of July weekend. And it's such a wonderful weekend, I think 4th of July was on a Monday, we came back on a Tuesday, and our 15-year employee said she's leaving. She's going up to the competitor up the street. I will never forget that day. You know what it taught me? And remember, this was the first big challenge that we had, for the first year, just get this business as usual. This was a major disruption in the business. Somebody who had been there, doing things the way that she had. She developed a lot of good relationships with customers. I mean, this is a big deal, So it taught me something, though, because Dad and I came together. I was also leaving for 3 weeks to go to training, so he was stuck. And he was able to bring somebody in to kind of, mend the fence while I was away. But we ended up retaining 95% of that business. What taught me a valuable lesson is you got to be prepared to lose your best employee. And it's not the end of the world. The other exodus was the employee that we had. So the 15-year employee left and the 8-year employee left. So our employees were gone. And look, I will take my fair share of criticism for that. I mean, I'm a very different person than I was 12 years ago. A little bit more mature, depending on who you ask. I'd like to think so. But this was this is a big deal, that this happened, less than about 1 year in. Number two, so HR failure number two. We had hired somebody who was a great employee, and this person came from a very conservative corporate environment. And let's just say my mannerisms in the office probably weren't the best at that time. And she was not afraid to tell me that in her exit interview, quote, like, "You will never be suitable to run this company." Well, look at me now. So that was kind of the second failure. And I realized then, okay, I need to get raw talent and somebody who I can mold into what I believe, this company, where this company's going, somebody I can really mold to what I see would fit here. And it's not that these people were bad employees, because they weren't. They're very good, very capable employees. It was changing, and they didn't like that. They didn't like what I was bringing to the table. So they decided to leave, which is fine. My first hire, Jennifer Trimble, a McDaniel connection, a guy I went to school with, somehow knew her then fiance. This was 13, 14, can't remember. But anyway, 14, because it's been 10 years ago. She was in the mortgage business, doing mortgage processing. She beat out like 10 candidates. Community college degree. She's our rock star. Runs that business when I'm out doing prospecting, skiing last week. She's a rock star. I think she is one of the best people in our industry. I know she is. And she was my kind of first main hire. So yay, success. 2 failures and we succeed. So we've got the right person in place, then what do we start to do? I start to invest in our professional development. So as I quickly realized, insurance is always positioned as this commodity, but I needed to invest in my professional development to change it and flip the switch and not position it as a commodity. So what we did specifically, those are a couple professional designations that I've gotten. Certified risk manager, certified insurance counselor. What else? We started to invest in McDaniel College. My dad mentioned that we started an internship program, which was incredibly successful. It was actually probably 6 or 7 interns. One who is running, our first intern now runs she's running like a $90 million construction project or something like, right, Mom? Sabrina? For a huge construction company. She got in through insurance compliance. She had insurance experience with us, that's originally how she got into her position, which I think that's amazing. That's such a great success. The other part we did during this time, and remember, I'm still out prospecting, still kind of introducing myself to people, trying to sell. But the other thing we did was invest in our technology we already had. So we have a pretty robust piece of technology for our agency that we were only using at 30% capacity. We recognized this, and we said, well, if we're spending all this money, we might as well try to use it. So we hired a consulting firm out of Texas and brought them in, and now have really been able to gain more capacity in that management system, which has freed us up and created capacity for our team, and frankly made us more profitable. That was a big deal because we spent a lot of money to bring them in from Texas, which was great. All right, so here's another failure. Salespeople, producers, I have failed twice with this. This in particular, I was not ready to hire a salesperson. You have to have a certain structure in place, accountability, a focus, and I failed. Well, first, this was a friend too I had to fire. That was fun. But I failed because I didn't hold him accountable, and that's my fault. And I gave him too much rope, and it ultimately he ended up hanging himself. And I'll kind of come back to the salespeople part, because when I talk about like where we're going to go, it's kind of a struggle right now. It's like, what is that next step, in that area? So, okay, so come 2019. Now picture this, all right? I think it was January, and I find this Facebook group, okay, and it's called Independent Agency Owners Alliance, and it's just this Facebook group of 700-800 owners like myself. And they're all across the country, mostly on the West Coast. And I found out they have this conference, all right, where we all get together, share ideas from other conferences. And I go home to Amy, and I said to her, hey, I really see this conference that I want to go to. I think it could be really beneficial to my business. She says, oh, really? Where is that? I says, Las Vegas. Yeah, oh, well. She wasn't buying that. It really wasn't true, though. so I go. So against my wife's wishes, I go out. Now she was fine. She was supportive of it. She just thought I was full of it. It was fun. I go out to Las Vegas. I go to this conference with 1,000 of these independent agency owners. It changed my entire perspective on the business. Seeing what people were doing on the West Coast, how they were using their technology. Their thought process about our business was remarkable. So these are a couple things that we did. I won't kind of go into all of them, but one of the things we started paying very close attention to after this conference was Net Promoter Score. It's like how to assess yourself, how your clients are thinking about you. So we survey our clients. I think it's every 6 months. So you want to pay attention to that. We invested in technology to create just communication amongst our clients, give them different opportunities to communicate, or different mediums to communicate, whether it's phone, Teams, telephone, texts, like that was a big thing. And then I'll talk about agency performance partners and then some of the other ones a little bit later. So I've also developed incredible friendships of other agency owners. These are two of my guys from out in Arizona, one who I'm going to see in March, who both own independent agencies. So it's like a mini mastermind group, which I met these people. I never would have met them. That's us. We have a tradition now where we play golf before each conference. And it's just been remarkable to meet them. So, okay, fast forward, COVID. Fun. Immediately shifted Jennifer to fully remote. Now, we were already prepared to do that. She had approached me and asked me about that. We had the infrastructure in place. This just kind of like pushed us to do it. We didn't really have a choice. And we went off seamless. It was unbelievable. We embraced that virtual, the virtual appointments, virtual relationships. We had to. So this is the key here, is it allowed me time to focus on the business a little bit more. I wasn't out meeting people, going to happy hour, having lunches, etc. So we hired an agency consultant. Her name is Kelly Piro. She's out of Rhode Island. That's all she does is consult with agencies. That's all she does. Agency performance partners. She's still on retainer for me because I run almost everything by her. We evaluated and improved our process, invested in new technology. I'll talk about that. We focused on Google reviews. We have over 180. But really the key here was the brand and the mission statement. Like, what is our brand? Why are we here? What do we do? And we came up with this mission statement, guiding and protecting all generations. And what it means is, we have a lot of history, as Dad talked about. So we've protected the past, all right? We want to guide the future generations, but we also know that we want to invest in making that a positive experience. And we do that, through our technology, through our processes, with our carrier partners, which I'll talk about too, because we have a lot of new carrier partners right now, insurance company carriers. So guiding and protecting all generations, it's something that we do every single day. Guiding through the process, guiding through the claims, making sure they're protected. We're very proactive in that regard. Our industry is reactive. You all call, it gets done. We're proactive. I'm constantly talking to our clients, especially our business clients. What are our competitive advantages versus disadvantages? And then who's our target client? That was a big deal. COVID, we were lucky, we have a fairly diversified client base, and we realized we are not in the retail business anymore right now. We are not. We went to appointment only. We locked the door. That was tough for him. Anybody wants to come and see me, they can come and see me anytime they want. Just call me. I'll make sure I'm there. But we are not a retail business. And then our target customer. So what's going on in the industry? Your position is a commodity. I don't believe it is. We have to position it differently. Claims and the costs are going up. We all know that. Consolidation in our industry is big, but it creates opportunity for us. A lot of insurance carriers are buying one another, but more importantly, the opportunity for us is the consolidation of insurance agencies. So if you look at Baltimore in particular, 4 of the larger agencies in Baltimore have been consolidated. HMS was bought by Marsh McLennan. PSA was bought by HIB Group, which is private equity backed. Rosman Hoffman was bought by Hub Group, private equity backed. And then Consolidated Insurance just merged with RCM&D, which is originally a Baltimore agency, but they're big. So that creates opportunity for us, and the reason is they are looking for large business accounts. They don't care about personal lines. They don't care about home, auto, and umbrella, which is a big part of our business for what I call the mass affluent. But they are looking for these companies that are doing probably $100 million in revenue and over, or their guys don't get paid. The reason I know this is because I know all their guys and they tell me. So that creates this opportunity for us that these businesses that are good, solid businesses that are $5, $10 million, $2 million, they're getting switched to call centers. They don't want that. They need our advice. They need our guidance. They want to be protected. So that's a huge opportunity, and that's going to be our opportunity over the next 5 years. This consolidation among the agencies is huge right now. It's also a threat, though, because now you're dealing with big boys who have a lot of resources. So how do we compete on that level? Also, AI is everybody talks about AI. Ask my buddy Joe Dominic about AI. He'll give you a whole report, I'm sure. But AI, claims, underwriting, it's all interwoven. I'm not going to go into that too much. So today, we're 2 employees. We're all pursuing professional designations. We rank in the top quartile of revenue per employee. We have tons of capacity. We can grow our business. We can probably double our business with just who we are right now. Organic growth is really our strategy, but we're always looking for targeted acquisitions. It's got to be the right agency, the right fit. Producer, I said, where do we go now? It's producers, salespeople, they're expensive. I think in our industry, all agencies are looking at this and they're struggling. There's recruiters out there, you pay them $25,000, then you bring in a producer, you invest them in 3 years, there's no guarantee they're gonna succeed. So that's a challenge. That's one of my challenges right now. Is what are we gonna do? We're growing organically, we like it. Do we get another salesperson? I gotta figure that out. Who's our target market? We developed the mass affluent, and then the lower middle market to small commercial companies, because they fit in and they're looking for that guidance and protection. Last part, I'll be very, very brief, is in order for us to compete and continue to compete, we had to bring on new partners. So I merged our not merged, but I maintained the ownership of the book of business, but I merged with what's called as an aggregator. So now my book is part of another $300 million book. They're primarily out of Midwest and West Coast, and I'm the first agency in Maryland. That closed in July. So now we have more power. We have powers in numbers. Carriers are going to give us better deals because we're part of a $300 million group as opposed to a smaller agency. It was something that I met them in Vegas in 2019, and it took me 5 years of discussions to vet them. It creates wonderful opportunity. And then my aggregator was bought by Keystone, $4 billion in premium volume. They have 270 agencies, and it really levels the playing field. So when I do come across those businesses that are larger, that demand a lot more of back office, back office like resources, let's call it risk management. I'm working on an account right now, a lot of loss analysis for a large fleet of vehicles. So I now have access to that. It levels the playing field. Now we can play with the big boys, and we will, and we'll do it well. So yeah, you can teach a dog new tricks. And coming back to what I said originally is we are positioned for growth and positioned to succeed because he's allowed me to. And I'm grateful for that. So I appreciate you all the time.
I think it's interesting.
Sorry, I turned it off.
Line standing in front of the train station, getting people as they come off the train to see if they need insurance, to now such an amazing online behemoth is quite interesting. And thank you both for giving us a sense of the challenges and opportunities that you faced in order to stay in business for over 100 years, which is an immense achievement. Are there any questions for Ben or John? Anyone? Kevin, you have anything? Anybody? All right, well, if you come over here to this table, there are many, many display items that John and Sharon have pulled together that are quite interesting. And I especially like the Ancient Old Ledger book, which is written in beautiful library hand. So be sure to check that out. And Ruth, I just want to say to you, I also grew up in the time before copy machines. And I'm sure you're one of those people that I have tremendous respect for, who could make 6 carbon copies in white typewritten letter. That was an unbelievable skill. And I'm sure you had it completely. So I bow down to anyone who could do that. So thank you all very much. Please visit Kevin over there to talk about acts. Come get some more cake and see these wonderful displays. And we hope to see you next month, March 19th, when we'll have Steve Bauer's Socks and Galen Rube on Westminster High School. Thank you, everyone.